Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Monday, March 6th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are somebody that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple clarifications. Number one, the price you see over here will be changing and moving. The second is that this candlestick will also be moving. That is because the markets are still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, GNS, huge move, big volume, a little bit of a pullback here, but all that's done now with the pullback, meaning is allowed for a good solid pattern to take shape. And let me be very clear, as I draw out this pattern, I'm not trying to imply this is a great discovery on my part, that I have some sort of special talent. The exact opposite. I assure you a lot of other people have probably drawn the same pattern. And I say all that because when a lot of people are watching the same pattern and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So the pattern here that I think, like I said, a lot of people are drawing is based on putting that trend line into play right there. And then you have this area of support down here at that location. So the area of support right here at 345. So let me change that to green to represent more so a support part of the pattern. And then maybe make this just easier to see. Let's keep it one color. So again, we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the big explosive move right there. And to make it that much more visual for you golfers out there, let's put a golf hole down here. And this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So while there are no guarantees, my only point here is it's plausible, it's valid to think that even if you just, like I said, want to call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, if the price were to come up here and break up through the top part, that break in of itself could create additional buying pressure. So if you like stocks down below $10, you like bull pennants, certainly keep an eye on it. Next one, OBSV, and this is a penny stock that has made a very clearly big move and has gotten another surge of volume this afternoon, with the volume really pouring in. So overall, for those penny stock traders out there, you got to think this is probably setting off the alarm bells. And if you like to play penny stocks and you didn't see this one, well, here you go. So the first dynamic here is, from a pullback standpoint, is if you like to play more so pullbacks, an interesting level in my mind, right down here at, what is that, the 22-cent mark. So 22 cents, area of a pullback. And if you stop and think about it, not saying this will occur, but even if the price were to come down there and bounce around like that, from a bigger picture point of view, you'd still have set of lows there, these lows down there. And if you envision those as stair steps, then again, big picture wise, you'd still very clearly have stair steps progressing in the upwards direction. So even if the price does pull back a bit more, as it's already pulled back from these highs, there is still plenty of opportunity to build that higher base. In terms of levels of resistance, nothing fancy or complicated here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of split the difference, call it right up there at 28 cents. I say split the difference because you can see right there, didn't quite hit 28 cents, and then right there went slightly above 28. So just finding that middle ground right there, 28 cents, that main area of resistance. But all in all, like I said, if you like penny stocks, if you like a whole lot of volume, then definitely keep an eye on it. Next one, BOIL, which is an ETF that measures natural gas. And this one is still crazy. This will mean a bit more to those that have watched and are routine followers. But if you do remember that started tracking this one back here when it was down below $5. And at this point throughout the question, hey, nice move. Is this the start of something bigger? That was the question. And of course, at that point, nobody knew because nobody's got, can look into the future, but at least was thrown out there as, well, something worth watching to see if the momentum and strength keeps up. And yeah, in hindsight, that was indeed the start of something much bigger, as today the price made another very explosive move. So congratulations to any of you that watched that video and started to play this thing down below the 550 mark. You have been paid and continue to get paid very, very nicely. So as far as areas of support, we're going to have to squeeze things down here because it's been a long time since the price has been up around this area. But if there is any sort of pullback, key area of support, going to be right there at $7.10. I realize that's a pretty big move down from where it's at right now, but that just illustrates how straight up the movement today was, how strong the move was when it creates this sort of space between areas of support. So that's always kind of the catch-22. Market makes a huge move, and that can create some pretty big spaces. But like we just talked about on OBSV, even if the price were to come down there, bounce around, when you look at it from where the low's at, well, low there, low there, low there, low there. You get the idea. Then the stair steps, you can see that stair steps still very clearly progressing in the upward direction, even with the crazier pullback down to 710. As far as areas of resistance, this is again where we got to go back way into the charts history because it's been a long time since the price has been up this high. But next key level to watch very closely, going to be right there at the 805 mark. I'm going to add in one more just because this thing's been so crazy. So 805 is broken. Then the next key level to watch after that, right down there around $8.65. But all in all, higher highs and higher lows is the name of the game, and that's exactly what this one's been doing. Next one, AMC. Very, very nice move today. Things were looking very rough, and talked about that pink line there, but the price did not even come down close to that. In fact, went up, and not only did it go up, it got above this area of resistance right there. So always good when levels of resistance are broken, which brings about the first key update, which is based on a rule in charting, which states when levels of resistance are broken and closed above, you want to see them act as support. So going into the day, the 645 mark was an area of resistance. Now that would be considered the ideal level of support. Meaning if you say, Clay, what would make this chart look the strongest? Ideally speaking, yeah, if the price can stay above 645, that would be fantastic. But if it doesn't, not the end of the world, because from an overarching kind of standpoint, the overall level down there, that pink line, 200 period moving average, valued at 583. As far as areas of resistance are concerned, two main ones, current level, that purple line there, 50 period moving average. That's right where the price is doing battle as I speak. But if the price can push up through that level, then the next key area after that would be up there right around the $6.85 mark. But no doubt about it, nice day today here for AMC. We'll see if it can build upon the momentum next week. Next one, AI, and not a whole lot to say from at least a pattern standpoint, because this one is essentially just gone straight up. But the idea of a watch list is to find interesting situations and not randomly rush out and buy anything, but to watch it and see what happens. And I would definitely consider stocks that get huge surges in volume and essentially go straight up, a unique and interesting situation worth watching. So like I said, from a pattern perspective, as of now, nothing really out there. Now, let's say the price pulls back here a little bit. Again, not saying it will, but for example's sake, well, at that point, you could say, okay, yeah, the price is pulled back here. But then when you factor in what was going on before the pullback, you could have a potential bull flag pattern, bull pennant. So we'll have to see what happens with it. But at the core, huge volume, good volatility, so worth keeping an eye on and seeing what all sorts of plays out next week. Real quick, wanted to pause and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I'm offering here in a couple of weeks. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live training. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free training. Next one here, XELA. Talked about this one yesterday, and bit of a disappointing day in the sense of the price came up here, broke through that trend line, and you can see at first acted like it wanted to be strong and was strong temporarily, but ultimately came back down to the breakout point and then fell back below it. So let me be very clear though. Does this mean the entire chart's destroyed? Absolutely not. I'm talking about a very micro sense here when I talk about the fake breakout and then pulling back, because from the bigger picture point of view, as I've said, even if the price falls all the way down there, and then you compare that with the previous low right there, then overall, stair-steps still progressing in the upwards direction. Now, I do realize that there's perspective that goes into it, meaning if you are a day trader and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 7 minutes, well, then yeah, from that perspective, the chart looks really, really bad. But assuming you care about the bigger picture point of view, just because this ultimately turned out to be a fake breakout does not ultimately, say, oh, okay, now the chart's destroyed. That would be too far in a jump of logic there. Yeah, sure, the chart disappointing maybe, but overall, it's still put in higher lows, and that's what matters most. So nothing has changed in regards to areas of resistance. Still all about that trend line right there. As far as the supports, nothing new since the last time I talked about it. As I talked about in yesterday's video, that pink line there, 200 period moving average, did a fantastic job of holding strong right there. So if there is any sort of pullback, then continue to watch that pink line there. But overall, like I said, assuming you care about the bigger picture point of view, maybe a little annoying that it was a fake breakout, but big picture, the chart is perfectly fine. Next one here, ARDX, and going back to that talking point of self-fulfilling prophecies, the line I'm about to draw is not a great discovery at all. You got to think that maybe it already sticks out to you, but that level right there, look how the price just went flat right up that area at $3.95. So you got to think that everybody and their brother's uncle is going to be watching $3.95, which does not guarantee anything, but it does make it plausible to think, okay, well, if the price comes up to that area and gets the break up through it, that break in and of itself could create additional buying pressure. So for those of you that like to play breakouts, definitely keep a close eye on that. In terms of pullback players, area of support down there, that stands out to me at least, right around 370. So somewhat, maybe I'm putting, trying to put a square peg through a round hole pattern-wise, but you could call this some sort of bull flag pattern, but I do respect and agree or understand where you're coming from if you would disagree with that interpretation of it. But like I said, I think the interpretation that everybody is looking at and would agree with is that, yeah, 395 holds quite a bit of significance. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and got a very nice move on this one. In fact, both the levels that I was very curious about going into today and that I talked about in yesterday's video down here really had no significance at all. So, disappointing in that regard, but that's just how the market goes. Sometimes it just doesn't care about the levels that you map out. But as far as dynamics headed into next week, first key level in one of the newest areas, that, from an overall chart perspective, health-wise, is that 194 mark, meaning, preferably speaking, the price stays above that level. So if it comes down there, bounces around and heads back up, that would, again, give you those higher lows, as I'm sure you can imagine. But if the price were to go down there and then fall below it, at that point, you start to have the problem of the price, after a nice move up, having gone right back to where it was, which is not exactly the sign of a truly strong move, to have this price make a great move and then all of a sudden go back to where it was. So for those reasons, 194, important level. In terms of levels of resistance, in my mind, all about that pink line now, 200 period moving average, right now valid at, let's just call it 201.50. You can see back here, it presented some problems. And a bit of a pullback right now, but if the price does start to turn back upwards, then that 200 period moving average is a level that you got to think a lot of people are watching. But overall, you got to love the volatility in Tesla, especially as a trader. So we'll see how it continues to play out next week. Next one here, NIO did this on Thursday, and overall, very, very impressive day. Starting off with that opening 30 minutes, which represented by that huge green candle there. So actually gapped down, which is kind of crazy, gapped down to start things off, and then came ripping up, broke through both of these areas of resistance, and never really turned around. So what I'm going to do here is just focus down that purple line, the 50 period moving average. Kind of hard to see, but it's actually slightly below that red line there. So just for clutter's sake and not having lines all over the place, we'll just get rid of these lines and focus on the main area of support now moving forward. As again, that 50 period moving average right now valued at 915. But keep in mind that is a moving average. So next week, as time goes by, that line will move itself higher and higher. But it's good that this line has now started to curl back upwards. For the longest time, it had this downward slant to it, but now it's leveled out. Now it's slightly started to increase. So as long as the price stays above that line, then the line will increase just that much more. In terms of levels of resistance, you've heard me talk about it plenty of times before, but in this situation, all eyes are going to be on, again, that 200 period moving average in this situation valued right up there around 980. But all in all, very, very impressive, and pretty crazy to think that not that long ago the price was down here. Now the price has worked its way all the way up to there. So let's see if this momentum carries into next week. Next one, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ. So if you think the NASDAQ market as a whole will rise, this one will also rise. Biggest difference, this just allows you access at a much lower price point. And it finally happened. We've been tracking this red trend line for quite a while. And honestly, I thought it would put up more of a fight, but with the gap up here, you can see it got the break up through it. Slight little pullback, back tested the trend line. And then not only did it keep on moving, it got up to that pink line, a resistance, and still broke above there. So a lot of these other stocks, you've heard me talk about that pink line. Okay, it's a resistance to come. But in this situation now, to be fair, I'll zoom in here. You can see temporarily when the chart looked like that, it was struggling right below there. So there was a period of time where the price was struggling with that moving average, but got the breakout through it. So overall, long story short, very, very impressive move today. So I'll get rid of these levels. Newest area of support and that ideal level, which I talked about previously, what would make the chart look the best. Staying above 23.15 would be, a very significant move, but by no means is that some sort of requirement. As far as areas of resistance are concerned, now the new key level to watch going into next week, right there at, let's just call it, give or take around that $24 mark. But very, very impressive move today. Nice follow through from the bigger bounce on Thursday. So like I've been saying, let's see if this momentum carries into Monday. So that wraps up the top 10. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the free training. Like I said, it'll be a couple of weeks, Thursday, March 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy this format, please do two things for me. Leave me a comment, say what you traded today, tell me what you're watching next week, and just hit that like button. Those two things help out the channel quite a bit, and I thank you in advance for doing that. And then, again, go get signed up for that free training. So thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one, and enjoy your weekend.